Hi, I'm Ian Johnston. We hope the information on leptospirosis from previous episodes has been helpful. In this episode, we'll briefly discuss the future of lepto, talking about advances in vaccination programs, how to refine diagnostic techniques, and understanding more about the bug and how it spreads. The vaccines developed for animals in New Zealand are very effective. However, it is likely that more targeted and even more effective vaccines for animals will be available in the future as technology develops. Although overseas countries are using vaccines for people, Peter Wilson from Massey University says it may not be necessary in New Zealand.
Well, at the moment we have vaccines that ostensibly are effective. In fact, I'd say that lepto vaccines are amongst the more effective vaccines that we have in our arsenal as farm animal clinicians in New Zealand. However, there are always improvements that can be made, and there's a lot of development now in vaccine delivery systems and in the types of vaccines, better immunological responses, and some of the work that's being done for vaccines in other diseases will be transferable to leptospirosis. At the moment in New Zealand we don't have a vaccine that's licensed for humans. In some parts of the world, in France for example, there is a vaccine that's used specifically for people at the very high risk category, and sewer workers, interestingly, are amongst those through transmission of lepto from rats. So they have a vaccine which is targeted for the serovars of lepto specific to that point. In New Zealand, we have a specific situation, as happens in all other countries, and so there's no such thing as a global leptospirosis vaccine. It would have to be made specifically for that particular country or environment. And I don't see that happening in New Zealand because the at-risk population is relatively limited, the cost of vaccine development is very high, the alternative of vaccination of animals is a method of protecting humans at the same time as having animal health and animal production benefits.
Massey Epilab's Jackie Benshop discusses where she thinks the future of leptospirosis research is heading and the importance of communicating about the research.
I think there's probably 2 or 3 main things that we need to work on. I think we need to focus or look hard at what is the story with Bellum, that serovar. The interesting thing about Bellum is we believe that it is maintained in rodents. What we're seeing in Bellum is an association with farming, particularly dairy farming. And so we're wondering about the link between Bellum and rodents contaminating feed and then farmers feeding out that feed. And of course the dairy farming has changed a lot over the last 10 or 20 years. There's much more hard feed being used. I believe another important thing we need to look at in terms of humans is what is going on with dairy farmers. Why are we seeing this switch, not just with dairy farmers, but over the last 15 years or so, there's been a swing away from meat workers as a predominantly occupationally the group that's most notified to farmers. Still, it's I would say 100 notified people, probably now on average 50 would be farmers, 30 meat workers and 20 other. That's a general pattern. And that's a bit different to how it was 15 years ago when it was more meat workers. So we need to look more at the risk factors in the farming community, and we're starting to do that by we want to do particular dairy farm related studies and link in with animal vaccination, because we know how important animal vaccination is in New Zealand in terms of protecting humans. I think if I can mention a third thing too, I think the communication and the dissemination of our results, the discussion between researchers, between those making policy and those at the coalface is really important.
Finally, Dr. Julie Collins-Emerson from Massey's Epilab says we need to understand more about the link between wildlife, humans and livestock.
We just need to know the risk for farmers, what wildlife are acting as reservoirs, and that spill over into the domestic stock and therefore the risk to humans.
We want to thank you for watching this series on leptospirosis. If there's anything else you'd like to know about lepto, as always, please refer to our website.